Brent Venables and staff are not done. And I've seen this being a trend, most notably with, well, a number of schools that we cover here, where there was a bit of a lull after a big push in June. And then, bam, over the weekend, a ton of commits came in, and there's going to be more possibly coming on the way here.
Yeah, so Oklahoma, Mark, has probably about 5 or 6 kids that are going to announce their choice throughout the month of July. So Caden Green is the offensive lineman out of Missouri City that we've talked a little bit about. So certainly, I think between Oklahoma, Missouri, and Nebraska, to a certain degree, I think had an official visit with Missouri a few weeks ago. There was some thoughts there that might have changed, but everything that I've heard, he has reaffirmed. Everybody in the Oklahoma camp here feels pretty strongly about him committing to Oklahoma today. Still has received a few crystal balls in that direction. So as we talked about him, number 12th ranked tackle in the country, top 100 overall player, and a 4-star kid. So he will announce his commitment at some point today. I believe it's this evening. Afternoon, evening, that he'll announce that commitment. Logan Howland is another kid that will actually announce his commitment tomorrow. Offensive tackle, 3-star, top 50 tackle in the country, 6'7", 280. As I mentioned a little bit previously in terms of Pachotti, he's a New Jersey kid, 6'7", 280. From an offensive tackle perspective, Oklahoma's in the mix. Certainly, I think they lead. Tons of crystal balls coming in for him over the last couple of days. So feel very, very good where Oklahoma sits with him. Iowa, Miami, and Michigan are probably the top contenders. It's probably, Mark, really a battle between Oklahoma and Iowa at this point for him. So another one that people have probably followed a little bit, PJ Adebare, who is a 4-star edge out of Kansas City, Missouri, 6'4", 240. 12th ranked edge in the country, top 100 overall. He's a kid I kind of had heard, a little bit of remnants about yesterday that could have possibly announced. I think he is where he hasn't really set a commitment date. From everything that I've heard, it could be any day now that he makes that commitment. And certainly Oklahoma is very, very much in the lead for him right now as well. Moving over to the offensive side of the ball, Dylan Smothers is a kid, 4-star, number 9th ranked running back in the country for in the 2023 composite out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, very, very heavy lean to Oklahoma. July 14th is when he will announce his commitment. And then there's another one that it's really an interesting story with this kid. This Troy Bowles, 4-star linebacker out of the Tampa area. Oklahoma, Georgia, and Ohio State are the three teams in contention. A while back he put Oklahoma in his top 8, and a lot of people were surprised that he was even in consideration. So this one, you hear some things, whether it be this chat or just in general about, Venable's ability to recruit high-star kids at a high level. And, while Oklahoma may end up missing out on this kid, it is 100% Venables is the only reason Oklahoma is even in the picture right now. And the fact that Oklahoma is the top 3 is, I think it's a big testament to what the staff on the defensive side has been able to do. Not just Venables, but when you look at Miguel Chavis, when you look at Todd Bates and a lot of other things, they're in the conversations for these big-time defensive linemen and linebackers that they just weren't in those conversations before, right? So I think the fact that Oklahoma's very, very much in the mix for him. So he will decide on July 16th. I think right now his camp is pretty silent just in terms of where he's going. I think he's only got one prediction here that I've seen, which is to Georgia. So I think from just kind of everything that I'm hearing, it almost feels like Oklahoma's like a hat on the table here. But at the same time, there's some kind of silent optimism in the Oklahoma camp that Oklahoma is very much in play. for this kid that will commit a week from tomorrow. And then a couple of other ones just to keep your eyes on and things like that. So Derek LeBlanc, 4-star defensive lineman, number 7th ranked defensive tackle in the country, top 100 overall. It looks like it's an Oklahoma versus Florida battle right now. I think previously Florida had the lead a little bit. I think Oklahoma has made some big strides here. As of late, he will announce his commitment on July 28th. So Oklahoma's got a little bit of time on here as well with him. But he very much is in play for Oklahoma. I think as the as the crystal ball and the commitment, the percentage looks a little bit swaying towards the Florida side. Oklahoma has made some, as I mentioned, fantastic strides with his recruitment. And then a couple of other kids, Jordan Raynaud and Makari Vickers, both will be very interesting to see how both of these kids where these kids end up. This is an Oklahoma-Alabama battle for both of these kids. So they've not necessarily set a commitment date. Both are 4-star kids. Raynaud is a 4-star defensive lineman. Vickers is a 4-star cornerback. So I think one thing to look at with these two kids, Mark, is it's almost kind of listening to Parker and some of the OU insiders talking about him. It almost feels like, from his perspective, that whoever gets the last visit might end up getting this kid's pledge. So it's for some of these kids, if Saban gets his hands on you twice, it's difficult to say no, right? So I think that'll be interesting to follow, just what that looks like. And I think lastly, Mark, probably the crown jewel of this class, at least for Oklahoma, what in terms of who's not committed, is David Hicks. So David Hicks is a number 1 defensive lineman in the country, number 5 overall. Some people think this kid might be the best overall player in the country. I know that ranking right now belongs to Arch Manning, but specifically on the defensive side of the ball. So this is going to be wide open. It's something that's going to go probably into the year. He's probably going to be a December, late November, early December pledge to wherever he goes. Obviously, Oklahoma is very much in the mix with him as well. So, and then the other thing to know is Oklahoma is having what's called a party in the palace, on July 28th, I believe. So, that's shortly after the dead period kind of is over, and then recruits are allowed to visit and things like that again. So for a short period of time. So Oklahoma's bringing in don't really have a whole lot of intel just in terms of who's going to be there, but there's going to be as the break ends. So recruiting is definitely going up. I know we talked about this. Oklahoma was in the low 40s, maybe even the early 50s in terms of low 50s, I should say, in terms of where they were. Oklahoma jumped up, I believe, number 25 or number 26 overall. So things are going to continue to go well, I think. It's just as we mentioned, it's just the different philosophy that Venables has, and you can't blame him. Basically, from everything that I've heard, there's a lot of these kids that were wanting to commit early on. But Venables and staff really encourage these kids to, if you're not 100% sure that this is where you want to be right now, take your visits, come back and see if Oklahoma is still where you want to be. Certainly keeping tabs on them and talking to them and still recruiting them along the way, but don't want to be in a position where you're not quite sure. You're just committing just to commit and wants that to mean something. So I think as you see these guys, you'll see as they commit here in July and then further on into the season until we get to signing day in December that that you see a lot of these firmer commitments than you would have in maybe the March-April timeframe.